Hey, we got Mock Draft Monday and a very special guest as we're going to work.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's good, everybody? Matt Derry with you. It is a Monday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today is Monday, April 14th, and a tax day, Tuesday, April 15th. Thanks for making us your first listen. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks to our everydayers that are out there that watch and listen to the podcast daily. We appreciate you all very, very much. Locked On Lions today brought to you by the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Stay tuned for the Armada Player of the Week later in the show. Look, Lions are top of mind. We've got the draft coming up a week from Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week. Can't wait for the draft. But folks, we've got a playoff team in town. Yes, your Detroit Pistons are going to the playoffs. They're opening up Saturday night at 6 o'clock against the New York Knicks. Live and direct from Madison Square Garden, 6 o'clock Saturday night for game one. The great Ku Khahil, who we've never had on the show, is going to be on. Long overdue appearance from Ku from Locked On Pistons as our special guest at the end of the program. We got a mock draft Monday, just two of those left. We'll go over a new mock. We'll talk about how it affects the Lions. Also, Lions welcomed in a wide receiver to Allen Park today. We'll tell you about that coming up as well, right here on Locked On Lions as well. All right, so Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus, Locked On alum, is going to join us on Wednesday. We'll go over everything he loves about the draft. John Macaroon from Lions on SI is going to join us next week as well. We're going to mix in some other draft guests. We're working on Dane Brugler as well and others before our coverage for next Thursday night, of course, when we'll be on with you right after that Lions selection at number 28. Or if General Manager Brad Holmes does what Brad Holmes does and moves up in the draft, we'll have to wait and see. All right, mock draft Monday today. Let's get into NFL.com. Latest mock draft from one of their writers. This is Mike Band, 2025 NFL Mock Draft 2.0, published today. We always give you the top five first. No surprise. Cam Ward to Tennessee, 1. Cleveland, Travis Hunter now. Wide receiver cornerback from Colorado. Many believe now that Shedeur Sanders is going to drop and he will not go number 2. And many feel that with Abdul Carter's injury, that Travis Hunter will go number 2, and that Joe Flacco could be the Browns starter for this year and have somebody like Travis Hunter to throw to. At number 3, the Giants take Abdul Carter in this mock draft. Of course, the edge rusher from Penn State. New England at 4, we've seen a lot of this. LSU offensive tackle Will Campbell. And at number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars select defensive tackle from the University of Michigan, Mason Graham. That is your top 5. As we scroll down to number 28 and your Detroit Lions, NFL.com says the probabilities of first position drafted for the Lions. They say defensive line, 38%, offensive line, 19%, cornerback, 17%, safety, 13%. Safety in the first round? That individual would not start this year. Maybe down the road if they can't re-up Kirby Joseph, but that's neither here nor there. In Mike Band's mock draft from today, the Detroit Lions at number 28 select Tyler Booker, offensive guard from Alabama. Let me say this. I have not seen many mocks that have Tyler Booker dropping all the way to 28. In fact, I've seen none. I've seen mocks where the Lions have traded up to get Tyler Booker. I've not seen many mocks that have Calvin Banks from Texas, who is a tackle. Booker's more of a guard going ahead of Booker, but that's what happens in this mock draft as Banks goes number 24 to the Chiefs. Gray Zabel is going number 18 to Seattle here. The offensive lineman from North Dakota State. I would think that Zabel in most mocks and in reality would be there at 28 before Booker. But in this mock, Tyler Booker drops right into the Lions' lap. And we know this. Brad Holmes loves Alabama players. Jamison Williams, Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Terrion Arnold. Who am I forgetting? Alabama, Crimson Tide. Band writes, quote, a naturally powerful guard who excelled on Alabama's left side. Booker could slide to right guard to fill Kevin Zeitler's vacancy, keeping Detroit's O-line among the league's elite units. His blend of size, strength, and technique aligns with Dan Campbell's gritty, physical brand of football. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if Tyler Booker is there at 28, I think this would be an absolute home run. I would be stunned if he is still there at 28. This is one man's opinion. This is one mock draft. But, man, would that be something else if he was there at 28 and Brad Holmes, Lions GM, did not have to move up to get him and trade assets to move up to grab him. Now, what Band writes, I think, is a little bit off base, because if Booker had a really good, solid couple of years at left guard for Alabama, put him at left guard with the Lions. Move Christian Mahogany to right guard, and then you've got Graham Glasgow as your swing guy, a guy that can back up at center, play some left guard, play some right guard. What if Booker struggles out of the gate and he's just not ready, and you can utilize Glasgow in that sense? But as we know from last year, Graham moved from right guard to left guard to appease Kevin Zeitler's acquisition, and Graham struggled at left guard. So if Tyler Booker can play left guard and played it very well at Alabama, that would be the choice for me. You ask about edge rushers going in this mock draft. Shamar Stewart would be picked number 17 in this mock by Cincinnati. Kenneth Grant from Michigan, 16 to Arizona. I mentioned Zabel before, who's been a Lions guy on the offensive line. Jihad Campbell, 19 to the Bucs. Everybody believes that's going to be the pick, the linebacker from Alabama. Derek Harmon, who's a very talented defensive tackle from Oregon, and of course transferred from Michigan State. In this mock draft, he's going 21 to the Steelers. If I'm the Steelers and I take Jalen Milroe at 21, I might as well just fold the franchise. Kelvin Banks, I mentioned before, has been mocked to the Lions at 24 to Kansas City. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, that I think could be a good fit for the Lions at 28. If a lot of the other players are off the board, he goes 25 in this mock draft. I want to tell you about another receiver in a minute. I want to tease that. And then Donovan Ezuraku, who we have talked about before on this show, who I think from a culture and people standpoint is just an amazing kid. He goes 27 to Baltimore, one pick ahead of the Lions. Ezuraku is another guy that I feel could be a good fit for Detroit at number 28. If Shamar Stewart's gone, if Mike Green is gone. Did I see Mike Green in this mock? Yeah, 15 to Atlanta for Mike Green. And we've also discussed the Lions maybe moving up to 15, which we mentioned last week, courtesy of the Lions Wire, to get somebody like Mike Green. If the Lions feel like that is the home run threat that they would need opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, and moving up to get him would be a bold move, but I think it would be a great move, because I don't think Green or Stewart, Shamar Stewart, will be there at 28 if the Lions feel like we've got to get an edge rusher right here, right now. But as we talked about on Friday's show, Nick Baumgardner had his mock at The Athletic. He had the Lions taking Banks in the first round, the offensive lineman, but then grabbing an edge in the second round in JT from Ohio State, and then Josiah Stewart in the third round. So you get two edge rushers in the second and third, similar to what Brad Holmes did last year, which is he went with, of course, two cornerbacks, Terrion Arnold in the first round, and our man from Missouri in the second round. So we'll see. But the bottom line is, Ennis Rakestraw, geez, it's Monday and I'm already losing it. But we'll see. But that's an interesting mock draft with the Lions getting Tyler Booker at 28, which I think would be absolutely awesome. And I don't think the Lions would take any time at all in getting that card up to the podium to get Tyler Booker. All right, coming up next, a wide receiver, and a damn good one, visited the Lions reportedly today. We'll tell you about that next here on a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. And our friends at Amazon are with us today for Locked On Lions. And yes, Fire TV is here, folks. And did you know that your Amazon Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports, College Football 25, to Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and AvoEd. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Let me be the first to tell you I'm not a gamer, all right? My stepson is. He loves it. But you can play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Already have a console? A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take yours or your kids' games wherever you plug in. Seriously, FTV provides gamers with great entertainment choices. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube, 3rd Gen. I'm back on a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Ku Khahil hosts Locked On Pistons. We've never had him on, doing a little crossover. Let's do that in a little bit right here on the show and talk a little Pistons basketball. It is exciting. I know this is a Lions podcast. I get that, but we do what? 300 of these shows a year? Like, let's mix in some Pistons at the end of the show today and get Ku on. He is doing a great job on Locked On Pistons. Has a nice following, including some of the players. They've openly admitted they watch or listen to his show. So that is pretty cool. All right, Lions get 30. We know this. 30 visits that they are allotted to have with college prospects to come to Allen Park, work out, conversations, interviews, and everything else. Today, it was first reported that the Lions, according to Ian Rappaport, hosted Texas wideout Matthew Golden for a pre-draft visit and met with him in AP at 222 Rodwood Drive over the weekend. Golden, of course, burst onto the scene last year at Texas. Breakout year, 58 catches, nearly 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. But here's the issue with Matthew Golden. Number one, I don't think he's going to be there at number 28. Number one. Number two, he's 5'11", 191 pounds. What do the Lions need? They need a bigger receiver. They're looking for a younger kind of X or Z receiver. He's more of a slot guy, but could he play the X and the Z? He did at college, and he, had a really, really good season at Texas after the first 2 years when he was at the University of Houston. Dude ran the 40-yard dash at 4.29 at the combine. 4.2940. So, yes, he might be only 5'11", but man, he can run. Great hands, very, very speedy, and was a part of a Texas offense last year that really, really sizzled. All right. He was 8th in the country in deep passes. He had 13 deep catches in 2024. Now, here's another thing that's interesting. And again, Scotty Montgomery, the Lions running backs coach, is now the wide receivers coach. We know what the rules are. If you're a wide receiver with the Lions, what is rule number 1? You got to be able to block. No block, no rock. Jamison Williams is an excellent blocker. Amon-Ra St. Brown, great blocker. Tim Patrick, Khalif Raymond, they get the dirty work done. A little bit of a knock on Golden, when I did some research on him, is that they question his blocking ability. But again, you get drafted by the Lions, you got to fit in. Another factor with Matthew Golden, why would the Lions would take a wide receiver and why would they even entertain him at 28? It's simple. Jamison Williams' contract. They'll pick up the 5th-year option. He'll be here next year or this year and next year. But what do they do in 2027 when he's going to demand 30, 32, $35 million? Because the price tag is going to go up and the Lions cannot afford anybody. Dan Campbell said at the owners' meetings they need to get younger at wide receiver and want to bring in some competition that is younger. Matthew Golden would be just that. He would. But do you think the Lions would actually pull the trigger and take a receiver that in the first round? I'm not ruling out Egbuka at 28 because I think he'll be there. Not so sure Golden would. In Mike Band's mock draft that we mentioned before at NFL.com, he has Golden going number 26 to the Rams. Or no, was it the Rams or the Chargers? Let me get this right. To the Rams, yes. To pair with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. So keep an eye on this. Very interesting. The Lions brought Matthew Golden in. What if he drops to 28? Lion fans would freak out if they take a receiver that early, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. All right. Our man, Ku Khahil, Locked On Pistons, is going to join us. We'll do that coming up next. Our friends at Nissan bring you the Armada Player of the Week. They're brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, we take a look at a draft prospect and pick one guy that stands apart. The guy we believe showcases the strength and power needed to push the Lions forward as we look ahead to next season. What about Matthew Golden? Is there any chance in heck that the Detroit Lions take the Texas junior at 28? Well, this week's Armada and clear-cut Player of the Week is Matthew Golden. Why? Heavy duty, rugged, conquers the road with capability and confidence. Dream big, go big. That's just like the Nissan Armada. This is a kid that's tough, can make the big plays, a lot of speed. And who knows, if the Lions want to get younger at receiver, that would be a pretty gutsy pick at 28. But he's a very, very talented guy, just like the Nissan Armada. When it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say go forth and conquer. And that's exactly why we think Matthew Golden could do that here. It's clear cut that our Player of the Week is out here ready to conquer the road with confidence, like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of their outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. All right, I want to surprise my listeners and viewers today with a little finisher here at the end of the Monday podcast here on Locked On Lions. Ku Khahil is the proprietor of Locked On Pistons. This young man does a fantastic show. We have not crossed over. We have not had him on. And now we are in playoff mode here, and the Pistons know that they're going to be playing in the postseason Saturday at the Garden against the Knicks at 6 o'clock. And wanted to have Ku on the show, do a little promo for his podcast here at Locked On Pistons. Ku, it's great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to finally do the crossover. I was thinking about having you on last year for the Lions playoff push, but just got busy and just completely forgot about it. I'll have to have you back on Locked On Pistons when the Lions eventually go on their Super Bowl run this year.
That would be great. And look, the Pistons, and I appreciate you saying that, the Pistons have had a great season. You go back to, I think it was Media Day, Jalen Duren says, and we can't use the language on the show, but he watches your show. He just didn't say it that way. But that kind of helped put you on the map a little bit, although you've done a great job. But what's this year been like for you, and how much fun are you having?
Yeah, no, this year has been, I always tell people that like last year, the watching of the games was not fun. It was bad basketball. It was a lot of losses, obviously, but covering the team actually was a bit of fun. And it brought like a different like kind of attention, because I was getting called by radio stations overseas in Britain and like different places asking, how are they losing 20 games in a row? How is that possible? Like the numbers are crazy. So many people were interested in the Pistons, obviously for bad reasons, not the greatest reasons, but there was so much interest to where it was kind of like, for me, it was like, you know what? Let's see how long this goes. But it definitely, from watching basketball and a positive way, this year has been the most fun I've had covering the team. It's been the most fun I've had watching the team in a long time. It's been, I don't think anybody could have expected this season going the way it has when go back to media day. If you go back to media, I don't think anyone was projecting them to be not just make the play-in, but to make the playoffs, not even be in the play-in, just forego that and be a top 6 team. I don't think anyone saw that happening. So yeah, I think it's been a very magical season that when the Pistons eventually have like deep playoff success, I think everyone will look back to this season as this is when it started. This was the magical season that really pushed everybody forward.
Ku Khahil with us, Locked On Lions, but we're talking a little NBA basketball and Pistons here at the end of the Monday show. We got to do it. Again, 6:00 Saturday, game 1 at the Garden against the Knicks in the 3-6 matchup. What do you think has changed? Obviously, Cade Cunningham got better, and the young guys are playing well, and the Ron Holland pick has been great. But can you put your finger on one thing that took this team to a 46-win season?
I think you guys start at the top with Trajan Langdon. I thought that him and JB did a great job of kind of getting the right guys into the locker room and setting this culture. There's a bunch of reasons why the Pistons have went from the 14-win team to a top 6 seed this year. There's a bunch of reasons, but I think you can start it with they got the right guys into the locker room that fit with each other, not just on the floor, but also off the floor. They all love being around each other. I remember a quote from Marcus Sasser at Media Day that really caught everyone's eye was that he mentioned that these are the best vets he's ever been around and that they're more engaged with the players off court than any vet he's had. Obviously, he was only in the NBA for a year, but kind of spoke to the engagement and how, last season went compared to just how the vets were already treating them just doing offseason. Malik Beasley and THA and Tobias Harrison. You obviously see how much more fun the team has, how much more fun they are on social media, even how much more fun they are off the floor. These guys like being around each other, like playing for each other, like playing for JB. And there's a bunch of basketball reasons, but if you were to go away from the X's and O's, I think it goes to Trajan getting the right guys in the building, the right guys in the locker room that want to play for each other and enjoy each other's company.
Our man Ku with us from a Locked On Pistons does a great job. He'll be going crazy this week, certainly, as we get the entire schedule together. I want to ask you about the Knicks series in a second, because a lot of people all of a sudden are picking Detroit, which is crazy. Again, because of where this thing was a year ago. Cade Cunningham, I mean, where do you rank him in terms of stars in this town right now? Comparing him to maybe Lions, Red Wings, Tigers, where do you have Cade?
So growing up, I always so my mom, just to give a quick backstory, my mom was a huge Red Wings fan. She loves the Red Wings. She loves Darren McCarty. She loves Steve Yzerman. She is a huge Red Wings fan. So growing up, all I knew was, or not all I knew, but I knew from a get-go that Detroit's a hockey town. Detroit is known as hockey town. That's, they're a big hockey city. Then obviously, as I got older, I saw even as the Lions were not maybe having the greatest playoff success, I felt like growing up, this was a football town. Matthew Stafford treated like a god. Calvin Johnson treated like a guy. If you are good and you are an icon in Detroit as a football player, you are treated like a king throughout this city. So I think it's hard for anyone in Detroit as a basketball player to kind of usurp, let's say, Jared Goff was getting his name chanted at not even Detroit events. He was being chanted at random events. So it's hard for, I think, for the Pistons to have a player that usurps a Jared Goff when it comes to as an icon or the face of the city, whatever. But I think Cade's coming pretty close. I think as when it comes to who, talent wise, if you look at who's the best player across the cities, I think Cade's getting in that conversation where he could have an argument for maybe the best player in the city. And the way in which Cade has embodied the city's personality, embodied its music, its culture. I think he's really appealing to those people of Detroit and its population and its culture. I think that's really doing a great job for Cade. I think he is one of the faces of Detroit sports. As they have playoff success, I think he'll have an argument as the playoff, or not the playoff, but the face of Detroit. But like I said, I really think if you're a quarterback for the Lions and you have success, it's hard to usurp that. The quarterback of what I honestly, I feel like that's a lot of the case throughout most cities, that if you are a good quarterback for your city's team, you are probably the face of that city's team.
And obviously Cade has competition with Dan Campbell, Aiden Hutchinson for sure. All right. So how do you think they'll do? Look, everything to me is gravy. Like you said, making the 6th seed, not even being a play-in team, which is so cool, getting a chance to rest. But how do you like this matchup with the Knicks?
So the crazy thing about this matchup is the numbers tell you the Pistons should have more of not just a good chance, a really good chance of winning this series. But despite that, New York is favored. They're minus 460 on FanDuel to win the series, which is kind of crazy to me. Because if you go since January 4th, which is when Asar Thompson was inserted to the starting lineup, that's 48 games. The Pistons have the 10th best offensive rating in the NBA. The Knicks have 16th. The Pistons have the 8th best defensive rating in the NBA. The Knicks have the 17th. The Pistons have the 6th best net rating. The Knicks have the 15th. So all the numbers say the Pistons have been a better basketball team than the New York Knicks for a good 50 games now. But yet everyone still seems to be thinking the Knicks will win the series. And I understand why. The Knicks have more talent. They do. They have a more talented roster. They got Jalen Brunson. They have Cat. They have Mikal Bridges. They have Josh Hart. They have OG Anunoby. They have these players who are more talented at this point than the Pistons roster. On paper, they are. But I'm really interested to see how it plays out because as a team, the Pistons have been the better team for a good 4 months now. And we'll see how it plays out in the playoffs. Obviously, Jalen Brunson has been a superstar in the playoffs. He's had some crazy games in the playoffs. Cade hasn't been there yet. Will Cade be a playoff riser? Will he be, we'll see how he plays. Everyone expects him to be a really good playoff performer, but we obviously have to actually see it happen. So I get they're young, they're inexperienced. That plays into the playoffs. Maybe that comes back to bite them. Maybe that's why they're favored. We'll see. But as over the last 4 months, the Pistons have been the better basketball team. So if they play like that, then they should have more than a good enough chance to beat the Knicks team. And if they were to get a first-round playoff series win after winning just 14 games, like, my God.
Bandwagon will be filling up. Period.
Yeah, it would be you're already starting to see some fans from outside Michigan, like people outside Michigan being like, oh yeah, Detroit's, that team I root for in the East, or, if we're a Cinderella story, we're picking the Pistons, blah, blah. Like, you're already starting to see that happen. If they win the first round series, it'd be crazy.
It would be. Ku, keep up the great work, man. Great to have you on. And man, your shows this week are going to be a blast. Just to preview playoff basketball. It's something that's unheard of. I know there's only been 2 playoff basketball games played at the LCA years back when the Pistons played the Bucks, but kind of ironic that your mom's team, the Wings, they can't get into the playoffs. It's their building. Pistons are just renting at the LCA, yet they're going to have some games next weekend. So should be a lot of fun, man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Ku Khahil with us, host of Locked On Pistons. Check him out wherever you get your podcasts. You find me. You can find Ku as well on Locked On Pistons. We are back again tomorrow with a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions.